Chapter 4 Aftershock. Ino slowly regained consciousness. She was vaguely aware of a familiar voice speaking in her ear. "Acting Captain Esperanta, you must wake up. Your breathing mask is damaged. Oxygen level critical." It was Axiom, the ship's AI. Ino felt a little delirious. She mumbled nonsensically, voicing her innermost thoughts without restraint. "Sexy voice. Metal man gonna pin me to the wall?" "Wake up! You're starting to become hypoxic," Axiom insisted. "Your face! Fix your breathing mask!" Ino lifted her hands to her mouth, brushing the dislodged mask with her fingertips. A mix of oxygen and nitrogen hit Ino's lungs, containing far more of the life-giving gas than she was currently inhaling. Instinctively, Ino grabbed the mask and pushed it to her face. It took a few moments for logic and reason to return to her brain. Ino slowly became aware of her surroundings. She could hear movements around her. A moment later, the doorway leading out of the CIC was suddenly pried open from the other side. With a loud rushing sound, the air pressure suddenly equalized, causing Ino's ears to pop. "They're alive!" a familiar voice cried out. A pair of hands grabbed Ino and pulled away her breathing mask. Before she could react, a second, larger mask was secured over her face. Ino looked up and realized her rescuer was the space marine she met in the All Ranks Club. "Fresh air, just breathe," said Sergeant Lichtenstein. "Durant, check the other TOs. Yuhan, clear a path for the medical team. Savea Agdashlu, help him." The Marines started clearing the CIC, digging Ino's colleagues out of the rubble. "What happened?" Ino groaned. "Shock wave," Elodie replied. "Probably from a supernova. The enemy disappeared. They're either dead or got carried away." "What about us?" Ino said. "The ship's disabled. Lieutenant Beninato's taking command of the damage control teams, and he's getting things back online now. We came up because we saw your deck losing atmosphere." "I found the breach," called out the other female Marine, who spoke in a French accent. "I'm gonna seal it with my patch kit." Ino and Elodie took a head count. Out of the 20 tactical officers who normally served aboard the Marathon, 3 were dead, 8 more were injured, and 2 were missing. While Ino got accountability of her team, the remaining computer consoles in the CIC came back online. "CIC, engineering," the voice of Sota Beninato called over the intercom. "We've restored power and bridge functions to your stations. Moving on to the shield generators." "Good copy, Beninato," Ino called back. "Esperanta, is that you?" Sota replied. "Where's Captain Klein?" He was on deck 1. "Oh, God." Sota paused, trying to process the news. I'll break off part of the damage control team and send them your way." Somehow, receiving information seemed to restart Ino's brain. Her voice cracked as she forced herself back into a working mindset. No, belay that," Ino spoke into her microphone. "I want you to prioritize fixing the shield generator. If that really was a supernova that hit us, then there could be a secondary wave of radiation coming our way." "You're right." Sota's voice was grim. "I'll crack the whip down here. Engineering out." Ino's instincts were right. As soon as the space weather station regained power, it started to sound an alarm. Prisbin, cradling a broken arm, leaned over the monitor and said, "Captain, there's a radioactive space storm coming our way. ETA 4 days. It's coming from the same direction as the supernova shockwave." "Shit," Ino said. She looked around the CIC and started to give orders. "Sensors, check in on the rest of the fleet. I want comms and weapons checks. Find out what happened to the fighters and bombers we launched. Also, someone tell me where the enemy is." "I told you they disappeared," Elodie interjected. "Disappeared doesn't mean they're gone," Ino replied. "Can you do me a favor, Elodie? Pass the word to the rest of the Marine detachment. I want them ready to repel a boarding party, just in case the enemy is still close by." Elodie's face lit up as though the prospect of defending against a boarding party was the best news she heard all day. Elodie rounded on her fellow Marines. "To your action stations!" Elodie ordered, barely able to keep the bloodlust out of her voice. "Prepare to repel enemy boarding parties. I don't want to see a single weapon in the armory when I get down there." As the Marines departed the CIC, Ensign Pines waved at Ino to get her attention. "Chief! Captain, you're not going to believe this. Look here." Pines was pointing at a digital map of the system. Ino could see telemetry data from 2 other ships. Another Coalition vessel was nearby, transmitting a distress signal. Further away, Ino could see an alien warship. It was transmitting the recognition codes of the Augmented Savanti Administration. And moments later, Axiom made a positive identification. "That is the CASV Adimash, an Allied warship. They appear to have gotten caught in this ambush before we arrived," Axiom told Ino. "Signal them. Ask if they need help," Ino said. Then she looked over the sensor screen again, following the direction Ensign Pines was pointing. Ino spotted a formation of Coalition bombers. Captain Sharp and his wingmen had survived the shockwave by hiding behind a nearby moon. Then Ino found what Ensign Pines wanted her to see. "That's an emergency suit beacon." During emergencies, Coalition spacesuits would broadcast a distress signal, revealing their location to would-be rescuers. "The recognition signal on that suit says it's from the Marathon," Pines breathed. "Whoever's out there, he's one of ours." "Establish communication," Ino said quickly, "and call the air boss. Get a strike craft or a utility shuttle out there to pick him up." While Prisbin struggled to call the hangar bays, Ensign Pines radioed the spacesuit. "I've got something," Pines reported. "He must have gotten launched by decompression, 'cause he's already far away from us. Transmission delay time is 0.5 seconds. Ino grabbed her microphone. "This is UNS Marathon, transmitting in the blind, calling the man overboard bearing 220 plus 89. Do you read? Man overboard, please respond." A moment later, there was a response. A raspy voice could be heard coming out of the speakers. "Marathon. Marathon. This is Admiral Garnett, United Nations Navy." Ino, Prisbin, and Pines all gasped. "Sir!" Ino cried out. Her heart was racing, and tears formed in her eyes. "Sir, hold on. We're sending a shuttle to pick you up." No, don't bother," the Admiral replied. "I only managed to get my helmet on before the bridge blew. Pressure suit had 30 minutes of O2, and I'm well past that mark. It's all CO2 in here now." "Don't talk like that, Admiral," Ino gasped. "We're gonna scramble a ship." Ino flinched as someone put a hand on her shoulder. "Esperanta, listen to me." The Admiral's voice was soft and plodding, as though he was having trouble stringing words together. "Marathon, she's not mission capable anymore. I want you to take command. Go back to Earth. Get the crew home. You understand?" Ino could hear Prisbin talking to someone on another channel, but she could only pay attention to Admiral Garnett. "Sir, this is your flagship. We can't go home without you." "Not anymore," Admiral Garnett sighed. "It's your ship now, Esperanta. And I promote you to Commander. Rank of Commander. On Admiral's authority. Get your people home. Get your people home at all costs." Ino's vision was blurry. She had forgotten to wipe her tears. "Yes, sir," Ino said. "I will." The Admiral's voice was getting fainter. "Good, Esperanta. I'm going to put my faith in you." Ino could hear alarms going off in other parts of the CIC. Prisbin and Ensign Pines stepped away from her to check on the other tactical officers. Wow. Admiral Garnett's voice was raspy, laced with static. Esperanta, have you seen this gas giant nearby? The aurora. So beautiful. Reminds me of my wife, of her eyes, like starlight. Tell her, when you get back to Earth, tell her. Static overwhelmed his voice. Axiom told Ino what she did not want to hear. Loss of signal. The Admiral is gone. I have entered your promotion and new mission into the ship's log. Return home, Ino breathed. Return home at all costs. Ino stood up from her station and surveyed the damaged CIC. Ensign Johnson had been revived and was sitting hunched over on a chair. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. Lieutenant Commander Barrett is dead, Johnson said. I've got Junior Lieutenant Stone from Beta Shift filling his slot. Any new orders? Give me a sit rep, Ino said. Johnson must have overheard Ino's promotion because he stood up and gave his report while at the position of attention. Ma'am, the ship is crippled, but we're not dead in the water. We have limited sublight propulsion and shield capabilities. Hyperdrive is offline. We can't jump out of the system. Hangar reports that 2 of 6 runways are serviceable, but the catapults are offline. Our bombers and strike craft can land, but they can't take off for now. Port side weapons are offline. That was the side that got hit by the shockwave. Casualties? Including the command crew? 129 dead, 585 injured. Ino nodded. Okay, what about the enemy? Looks like they suffered the same catastrophe as us. The nearby starbase is completely disabled. I don't think they even have life support right now. All of their orbital platforms are either destroyed or disabled. The frigates have vanished, Johnson told her. And our allies? The Coalition destroyer Cairo is the only vessel left in our escort fleet. Everyone else is destroyed. The augment ship Adimash is broadcasting a distress signal. Ino put her hands on her hips and bit her lip. I want us to assist the Adimash. Get us there at best possible speed. Establish a data link to the Cairo. I want their story as well. And... Ino thought for a moment. Do we know anything else about that shockwave that hit us? Where did it come from? Are we in danger of supernova radiation? One of the Beta Shift tactical officers, a man named Petros, pointed to his screen. Ma'am, I used all 3 sets of the ship's sensors to triangulate the origin point of the blast. And? Ino prompted. Well, that's the strange thing, said Petros. The origin point is Decronia. Ino's jaw fell open. Decronia? She repeated, flabbergasted. That's the enemy homeworld. Yes, it is. Petros nodded. I used the tachyon scanner to conduct deep superluminal scans. What did you find? Anything useful? Well, ma'am, Petros sounded as though he did not believe what he was about to say. I confirmed the location of Decronia, but... He hesitated. What? Ino said. Out with it. Petros took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and declared, I cannot confirm the existence of Decronia, nor can I confirm the existence of 116 neighboring star systems. The core sector of the Destican Astral Fellowship is gone.
Creeping in my sword's getting out of control. I gotta find my escape, get out of this black hole. Cause justice in the world is hard to find. Time has come, gotta make up my mind. No matter how deep or remote I hide, All my thoughts seem caught up inside. Creeps from the deep, gonna be freaking up your mind.